Hi, we're here at the Samson Davina Table Tennis Academy. I'm here with my friend Blake Cottrell, and he's been promoting the sport quite a bit in Ohio as a tournament director, as a player, as a coach. So I thought we'd just spend a couple minutes today talking to Blake just about how he's been promoting the sport and what he's planning to do in the future to continue to promote the sport. So thanks for taking a couple minutes here, Blake. So tell me, you recently ran your first USATT tournament here in Akron. How was it as a tournament director?
I was pretty. I felt pretty good after the tournament. I thought we did a pretty good job. I think the key to success for us in that particular tournament was really that we were ready for it by the time tournament day arrived. So there wasn't once the tournament day arrived and once we had to follow up afterward, there wasn't a lot to do and we were pretty well organized.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the players in the end felt that. You get a lot of comments from the players, but I think it was all really good commentary afterward.
Good.
I think the tournament ran on time.
Mm-hmm.
Players seemed pretty pleased in the end with their prizes. They played pretty consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we wonder, do they get enough matches? Do they get too many matches? I know we keep them moving along pretty well, and I think for the most part they appreciate that. And sometimes I wonder, whether we're actually, I play in tournaments myself, so sometimes I get some downtime in between the matches,
Right,
and sometimes I like that, and sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
In our tournament, we kept them moving pretty quickly.
Yeah. So it was groups of 8, and they were on the tables pretty much that whole 4 hours.
Right.
Until they're done with the group.
Right. I mean,
Right.
some of the players I think were pretty tired afterward.
Well,
but
that's
I think,
typical.
But I also think they were happy, kind of happy tired, as opposed to like tired. Oh, gee, I didn't play well, or gee, I sat around for 2 hours and didn't play.
Maybe their New Year's resolution will be to work on their fitness.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what about future tournaments? As far as, are you planning to run future tournaments, and is it going to be the same, or are you going to make any changes, or what do you think?
Well, we have a couple of tournaments in the works at this point, and I think that some of them will be the same, but I also think we'll try some different formats. Maybe less players, for instance, in a round robin group, so that way we could maybe have more events with different rating levels. Players will be able to enter more events just because they won't be playing 10 matches in one particular event.
Right.
So I think that's a slight change in format that we might do. I know there's a possibility of a tournament in the fall. Sooner than that, we may have some other smaller tournaments, which I know I'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah. Good. Excellent. And you've recently taken the ITTF, and then a year later you took the ITTF Level 2. So you've taken ITTF Level 1 coaching course and Level 2 coaching course. So maybe you can just take a minute real quick and just tell us about the Level 1, and then you can tell us about the Level 2 coaching course, especially maybe for people who are listening who haven't taken the classes yet and are considering taking those in the future.
ITTF Level 1 is somewhat of an introduction to coaching. Not obviously the people who are in there know about table tennis, at least to a large degree. I'd say that's true. But it was basically beginning. How do you teach beginners? How do you keep beginners interested, in particular younger people? There was a lot of format in there regarding games we could play with kids, for instance, to keep them interested. Because in the beginning, the kids they're gonna be distracted. They're gonna want to do other things. They might want to run around. They're not necessarily used to being in a structured format. So a lot of it dealt with, okay, how do we keep those kids interested for several hours in order to keep playing table tennis?
Okay, let me interrupt you a second. So when I'm playing with you or I'm coaching you, it's probably about 99% serious, maybe 1% fun. But what would you recommend that?
There's more fun in that.
What would you recommend for coaching kids? Do you think it should be like 50% fun and 50% serious? Or what percentage would you say would be a good balance for a 10-year-old kid that's just starting out?
I'd say if they're just starting out, it's probably got to be the majority fun.
Yeah.
You really need to the kids need to have fun in the beginning. If they're not having fun, they're not going to stay interested in it. Right. So I think you want to teach them things certainly in the beginning, basic forehand, backhand, serve return, which is you're going to need to know just to play the game. But if they're not having fun, they're not going to stay interested.
Right, right. Okay, and tell us about the ITTF Level 2 coaching course that you took a couple months ago. For those people that haven't taken Level 2, what kind of things can they expect?
It's a lot more technical. It's geared more toward a mid-range type player to a slightly higher level. I mean, definitely we spoke about footwork, techniques of, again, forehand, backhand, but different aspects of forehand, backhand, different aspects of serve return. Short game, long game, smashing, really a lot of the different, anything you can pretty much think of, as far as basic technique. I mean, it didn't get into super complicated areas, but we went through a thorough breakdown of all the areas that we talked about. Where to hit the ball, what kind of access are we putting it on. When you put, basically, there was quite a lot of discussion about spin at this point. Certainly in the Level 1, there wasn't much discussion on spin, but Level 2, we're talking about how do you use spin during the match, right, during a game. There's also talk about sports physiology, psychology. The mental part of the game is a big part of the game. So I think just learning about how players think, or how to motivate players, how to get them stay at a high level mentally, that was part of the training also.
Mm-hmm. What was your favorite part of the course, or what do you think that you learned the most of? As far as like a new topic that you weren't quite as knowledgeable before on Level 2?
Well, a lot of it dealt with actually getting to the table and teaching groups. So for me, I like the fact that we really went through a lot of different strokes and actually taught them at the table to a group of people. It really helped later on when I wound up teaching a course soon after that.
Yeah, that was actually my next question is, so I got injured. I had a severe back injury right after the course, and I wasn't able to teach at a group clinic. So I called Blake up and said, Blake, I'm desperate. I need your help. So you just jumped in and actually taught the whole group class. So what was your experience like coaching that in that class? Did you feel like the Level 2 helped prepare you for it? And kind of what was your format for the clinic? Like what kind of things did you work on for the 6 hours on that Saturday?
Well, just speaking to the fact that I just taken the ITTF Level 2,
right.
Samson called me about the night before, or maybe 2 days.
Yeah, maybe 2 days.
2 days before. So it was a case of, okay, well, Blake, this is what I want you to teach. So luckily, I just taken the course, so I was able to apply a lot of those things that I learned in that particular course to the clinic that I taught. It was a group of college students. There's probably 16, 17 students in that particular course. And one of the things actually with the ITTF also was the fact that they teach you to coach in a certain way. That way it's consistent throughout all the ITTF level coaches. So I was able to basically teach at I think, at the same level that Samson would be able to teach at for that level of a student. There was what I generally would do is a small amount of lecture about the particular topic that we were going to work on. Then it was basically go through a demonstration of the particular stroke or skill that we're going to learn. Then basically the students practice the stroke on the table for a certain amount of time, and I would basically coach them, try to point out things they can improve, or also things they were doing well with that particular stroke. And we went through I don't know, 8 to 10 topics, something like that. And, over a course of 6 hours, I think they learned a lot. I got a lot of positive feedback from that particular course.
Yeah, I did too. So it was good. And what's your future like as a coach, as an athlete, as a tournament director, as a promoter of the sport? What does the future look like for Blake being here in Ohio and promoting the sport?
Well, I really do love playing table tennis. So my one plan is to continue playing and hopefully getting better. That being said, I'd like to start coaching a lot more, and I know there are plans for Samson's Academy, sometime in the not too distant future. So I would like to be a coach at that academy, and then also as I get a chance to coach in other facilities, certainly there also. One of the things we've been working on lately is to promote the game in local schools, for instance. So recently we gave an exhibition at a local school, and we're hopeful that that'll turn into a good coaching opportunity for both of us. For the kids to learn how to play table tennis a lot better. 2, for them to gain a lot of interest in playing table tennis, and 3, to just become good players and gradually tell their friends and add to the whole table tennis community here in Ohio at this point.
Good, excellent. And just maybe one final question. For the player out there that's been playing at the local table tennis club for, let's say, 4 or 5 years, and they're like you and they decide that they want to start coaching, what kind of advice could you give to a wannabe coach, just as far as starting out? Would you say just developing themselves as a player, or going to the ITTF courses, or what kind of advice can you give to somebody who's wanting to eventually turn into a coach and player as opposed to just a player?
Well, I think you need, I feel, at least for myself, that being a competent player really is helping a lot. Plus, by traveling to the different clubs around the area, I've gotten to know a lot more people. So it's helped me to kind of, if you want to become a coach, but to get known better in the community. As I've improved, people know me a little more now. I'm a little bit better player. I think they're looking at me for more advice now. On just a more informal level. People ask me a lot of questions now about different techniques and the types of things I do to try to improve. I think from there, after you kind of, I don't know, they say it takes 10,000 hours to master a game. I haven't gotten to that point yet, but I think I'm going in that direction at least. And I think after that, you reach that certain level of playing skill. You don't have to be a great player, because you can still have the knowledge, maybe not necessarily be able to do it as well.
Right.
But I think step 2 is then to just get some training and coaching. How do you coach? To a lot of people, it comes very naturally. There are certainly some people around this area that I think are just very natural coaches.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that we'd like to promote is good sportsmanship. So I try to hold myself out there as like a good sportsman, at least going to the different clubs and playing in tournaments. And I think that also reflects on you as a coach. I think
for sure.
I'd like to think that people think of me as a pretty good sportsman. It doesn't always happen, but I'd like to think that most of the time I'm pretty good as far as that goes. So I think after the player, kind of develop your representation, your reputation, and then just getting some coaching experience at either a training or just trying a trial and error on your own. The ITTF really does help, though, because I think the fact that you can teach in a similar manner to other coaches around the area or around the country and even around the world, is really going to help your credibility.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Blake.